I can't believe so many people are still here. When I saw that I was the final speaker on the programme, I thought, my gosh, either everybody will be asleep or gone home or gone to the pub or whatever. So I'm really impressed that there are so many people here. And it's been a long day, so this is just a very brief overview of the trial that I've just been involved in, the Centre for Pain Research, with my supervisor, Professor Brian Maguire. And it's basically, it was a trial of an internet-delivered pain management course, which was developed in Australia by a team at Macquarie University, and it was basically looking at the use of this guided internet-based pain management program with adults with chronic pain, and our focus in this trial was on people living in Ireland, because the program had been developed, as I said, in Australia, and all the trials up to this had happened in Australia. So they approached Brian at the Centre for Pain Research and asked would he be interested in conducting a trial here in Ireland. So I was privileged to be the person that was involved in this, and consequently it has been one over the last few months. I constituted my thesis. So the aim, therefore, of the trial was to evaluate the efficacy of this pain management course, and it was guided and it was online, and it was basically for managing chronic pain and the and emotional well-being of people with chronic pain in an Irish context. So this was to enhance the generalisability of the findings that the Australian team found. They found their trials revealed quite promising results. So this trial aimed to enhance the generalisability by looking at the outcomes in a different cultural context, and in this case it was in the Irish setting. And so the method employed was a randomised controlled trial that compared the effect of the intervention on levels of disability, anxiety, depression and pain, and this compared to a waitlist control group. The intervention itself was called the pain course, and as you can see, there are different aspects to it. The pain course was basically comprised of 5 online lessons, which were delivered systematically over an 8-week period. The program itself, the pain course, was maintained in Sydney in Australia, and we here in the Centre for Pain Research coordinated the study here. So we obviously recruited participants and helped people and supported people as they went through this 8-week program. Another aspect of this intervention was weekly contact. So I, as the clinician, contacted people weekly, most of the time by phone, and if I couldn't contact them by phone, I would send them private messages. There was a private messaging facility within the program, so this was a secure way of communicating with participants. And so basically the objective of the lessons was to, and again it was based on a cognitive behavioural therapy principles, and it was to help people to understand and learn tasks to manage their pain symptoms and their emotional well-being. So it wasn't just a focus on the alleviation of pain per se, but it was also very much focused on helping people to use cognitive behavioural self-management techniques to enhance their functional abilities, their emotional well-being and overall quality of life. So to facilitate that, people were also provided with extra additional resources like material on issues that generally affect people with chronic pain, as in insomnia, functioning ability level, all of that was part of the additional resources that were provided, in addition to case studies. And this was where people were provided with accounts of previous participants who had participated in the pain course program, so that the people could basically normalise the difficulties that people with chronic pain have, and also in relation to the difficulties they might experience in working with the pain course. So the outcome measures, so I should say that there was 133 people actually started and participated in the programme, and they were randomised into the treatment and the control group. And after the treatment group completed the programme, the control group were provided with access to the programme. The outcome measures were administered online and at 3 time points. So questionnaires were administered at pre-assessment, or pre-treatment, post-treatment, and 3-month follow-up. So it was a battery of questionnaires were administered, and again this was very much in line with what they used in Sydney when they were conducting their trials. So basically the focus in terms of the outcome measures was on the levels of disability, and that was assessed using the Roland Morris Disability Questionnaire. The emotional well-being also was looked at using the Patient Health Questionnaire, the Generalised Anxiety Disorder scale, and also looked at Pain Self-Efficacy Questionnaire, Tampa Scale of Kinesiophobia, basically looked at people's level of fear of movement, fear of activity, and avoidance of activity, and the Chronic Pain Acceptance Questionnaire, and the Wisconsin, obviously, Brief Pain Questionnaire, which looked at people's the levels of pain. Okay, so the participant flow chart here shows that, from the very beginning, the recruitment actually started back in last August and ran for about 3 months. So 168 applicants initially expressed interest, 137 people eventually enrolled in the programme, but 133 only started because 4 people had to withdraw, so they were randomised into the 2 groups. One of the interesting figures here was that in terms of the completion of the course, 80% of the treatment group completed the course, and this was a very satisfactory outcome because, as we know, in these trials of internet-delivered interventions, adherence is a difficulty, and generally you have fairly high attrition rates. But here we were very satisfied with the actual level, the completion level. Again, wasn't as good as what they achieved in Australia. I mean, they had over 90%, but nevertheless, this was still very acceptable and very satisfactory for an online course. In terms of the treatment in terms of the completion of the questionnaires, again, all over in the treatment group, over 80% completed at the 3 time points. And again, that was very satisfactory because generally what we find for a 3-month follow-up, that a lot of there would be a fairly high attrition rate, but again it was over 80%, which again was quite good. And for the control group, 99% completed the questionnaires at time 2. So the results, I'll just briefly run through this. The results in terms of the sample characteristics, as we see, which is very much in accordance with other trials, that there's a higher prevalence of females, and in addition we see that the age which is middle-aged 45, which is relatively young. And again, so this is one of the challenges, I suppose, with online trials, is engaging older adults. So this would be a relatively, young cohort, in the sense that, and I suppose it is understandable that we know that older adults don't work online as much, and so therefore they mightn't see the online the recruitment, and they might not be as comfortable. But so this would be very much the sample characteristics here were very consistent with other online programs. So and there's lots of other details there. Okay, so in terms of the analysis of the post-treatment scores, I just put some figures there. There's a lot there, but one of the interesting outcomes was that there was a significant difference. The difference was statistically significant between the treatment group and the control group. So all of them were statistically significant, which was very satisfactory. And again, to look at the magnitude of the difference. Now again, there's a lot of figures there, but I've just on the right there just looked at the effect sizes, and they all, except for one, which is the RMDQ, they all fell into the medium to large different categories. So our size categories, with just one, was just a little bit below the cutoff for the medium size category. And again, that was very satisfactory, because it showed that how high the significant the differences were between the treatment and the control groups after the intervention. So that was again on the different on all the outcome measures. And one of the final questionnaires that was administered to people at the end of the trial was their level of satisfaction. And this was administered to the treatment group, and to look at what people found acceptable, or if they had any difficulties. And it really provided us with some rich feedback in terms of how they perceived the actual the intervention, the pain course itself. So as we can see, over 83% actually completed the treatment satisfaction questionnaire, and again, there's a high level of satisfaction. 100% felt the course was worth their while, and 80% said the course increased their confidence in terms of pain symptom management, and nearly 80% said that it increased their confidence in terms of managing their emotional well-being. And so, from what we've been talking today about working with people with, like say, chronic pain, we know that the people don't have access. The people with chronic pain don't have adequate access to effective evidence-based treatment, and one of the issues has always been the cost in terms of provision of effective treatment. So it was useful to compare and see the input in terms of time working on an online program relative to a face-to-face program. And so I suppose the significant figure here is that the total clinician time in terms of working with per participant over an 8-week period was 81 minutes. So 81 minutes was spent by myself interacting with participants during the course, and this basically involved just helping them, supporting them to work through the program and to respond to any queries they might have. So it was 81 minutes, but 24.71 minutes was actually spent originally in screening participants to see how suitable the participants were to the program. So overall, it was a very modest amount of clinician input when one compares it to a face-to-face intervention. So the conclusions, therefore, is that we could say that the study demonstrates that adults with chronic pain living in Ireland considerably benefit in terms of the amelioration of disability, pain, depression and anxiety through participation in this pain course, in the pain course programme. And it also provides support for the potential of internet-delivered programmes, cognitive behaviour therapy programmes, to reduce barriers to effective evidence-based psychological treatment for people with chronic pain.